Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and good evening if you are watching this when it should be released on Thursday night. This is now episode number 7 of the Down the Lane podcast. Today we're discussing the game against Western and our third place finish in the league, the first 2 playoff games, and of course our big semi-final this week against Maidstone. So I'm going to hand over straight to the team, introduce you to them. Miles, what did you think about Saturday?
Good evening, everyone, first of all. It was a very anticlimactic but also entertaining afternoon, I think. Just focusing on our game, first of all. Boys done a great job. We haven't been able to put teams away with 10 men in previous meetings this season recently, like Worthing and Dorking. So it was good to see us be ruthless and get the 3 goals on Saturday. But in terms of the rest of the league, Truro were a bit of a party people, weren't they? With their 3 quick goals inside 10 minutes, ruining a chance to win the league. But still happy to finish third. The boys got to put a good show. Good to have a sort of 2,700 strong crowd there as well. So that was really nice for the club. And roll on to Sunday.
Yeah, and of course, I've done a pod this week with the similar to the final one where we had the 6 that could win the league. We done one this week, obviously, where we discussed the playoffs, and in that the Torquay fan said that he felt a little bit bad because their game kicked off 6 minutes late, and so by the time they kicked off, Truro were already 2-0 up, and but they brought it back to 1 goal at one point, which made it a little bit exciting. So, Rob, Cherry, what did you think about Saturday?
It was good. Again, there wasn't that rush of excitement. I was worried about when it went down to 10 men, but I think we did all right. Did what was needed to be done, I think.
Rob?
Yeah, but I thought it was a professional job. I thought that was ideal, what we wanted. Obviously not other results, couldn't affect those, but for us, I think that was the best performance we could have had going into the playoffs. So yeah, I thought it was a professional job we did.
No, I agree, and I did say again in the pod that we done with the 6 that could win the league. I said I thought all 6 teams would win this week, and it would be the 1 week in the season I think that there was actually no change at the top. Unfortunately, I didn't have a bet because every time I bet on Eastbourne Borough we don't win, so I thought I didn't want to put the mockers on that and have 5 victories and us losing. Bobby, yourself on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's a good performance going into playoffs now. I think we're going to need everything we can, throw it at Maidstone, and fingers crossed that we end up in a playoff final 2 weeks on Sunday. But no, West 2 from there, I think it was easier said than done.
So obviously then we moved on to the 2 playoff eliminators this week, 4th v 7th and 5th v 6th. Two games, I thought 2 very different games. I watched both of them. Dorking v Bournemouth, what a game of football. And frightened me a little bit, to be fair. Either team that came through that frightened me a little bit. But as much as they frightened me, I think watching that game and watching how Bournemouth did not give up right until the very end. I mean, to be 3-1 down with, 7 or 8 minutes to go, and to end up winning 4-3. I know Dorking had gone down to 10. Silly second yellow for me, that was. He didn't need to make that challenge, but obviously did. They went down to 10, and then Bournemouth came back and won 4-3. The next game for me, Wednesday night, I thought Worthing against Maidstone. I didn't see a lot in either of them teams, to be fair. I thought it was a boring game. I mean, I think we've been spoiled on Tuesday with a great game of football, and we all wanted another great game like that. But yeah, I didn't think there was a lot in either of them teams yesterday. So, handing over your thoughts. Bobby, we'll go to you first.
I could sit here and slander Worthing for the next half an hour, but to say that they were poor was a bit of an understatement. I don't think they didn't look great going. They didn't look great going forward. I think they struggled when they got in the box, and Maidstone just was set up to do their job. They were looked hit on the counter. They did that well. 2 penalties, and you can't argue them. They were both penalties. One coming in the 95th minute where it's just taken out of the box. There's no need, but Worthing go out and Maidstone go through.
And Rob, Cherry, your thoughts?
Well, didn't see either game, but well, touching on that Worthing one first. I've seen some of their comments on their own groups where they're not happy with their performance. But listen to their commentary on the radio. It didn't sound like a good game, but it sounds like the kind of game Maidstone wanted it to be. They dictated it by the sounds of it, and that's what we need to be wary of on Sunday. Is they're probably going to be trying to do the same thing against us. So we just need to make sure we don't fall into that trap of letting them play that way. The other game, Boreham Wood, we've suffered what happened to Dorking up there, where just in 5 minutes, boom, 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 goal, goal, goal. We've had that ourselves, so we know what to expect from that. So hopefully we'll learn from the games we played against them this season. So if we do get through and we do get them, obviously we'll be at home if that's the case. And I think we're smart enough that we won't make the same mistakes again in that. Do you reckon?
I'm just going to.
I'm sorry. So go on, Cherry.
No, I'm just going to agree because we didn't see the match, so it's going by sort of what we've seen on the internet and what the radio commentary from the Worthing guys. So
yeah, I mean the Worthing guys were also doing the commentary on the National League TV stream, and they were a little bit biased. But then, in fairness to them, they did say at the second half, look, we're both Worthing fans, so expect us to be biased. And obviously, they were quite open about the fact they were Worthing fans. I know we had Kevin Anderson and Andrew Rayburn doing ours before. I'm not sure if they're doing it this week or not, or if it's an outside commentary. I think when it goes to semi-finals, it might be an outside commentary. But yeah, so Miles, your thoughts on the games this week?
I think just touch on the Worthing Maidstone one first of all. I mean, there's two sides to it, really. I think, first of all, credit to Maidstone, they're a very professional, brilliant away performance, as everyone said so far. Sort of very compact, hard to break down. Did well on the counter. I mean, Aaron Blair scares the life out of me personally. He's rapid, can run with the ball well, challenges well. He's very strong in possession. He'll be a real handful on Sunday. But Worthing, I think they just look broken really from what I can see. They look like they've lost their talisman. Obviously, Cashman was injured, only came on for the last 10 minutes. And I feel like the fact they had the league right there in their hands and they pretty much threw it away in the last few weeks and had to play now 3 playoff games to win it potentially. I think all those factors came into the fact they're really like lethargic and sort of beaten performance from Worthing. When they went 1-0 down, they didn't have any sort of confidence or no one on the ball was making things happen. Like Spong's normally brilliant. He was off it. And yeah, it was just slow, really lethargic. And Maidstone were very deserved winners. And as for the Bournemouth Dorking game, that was a brilliant game of football. Probably one of my favourite games of the season so far. Absolutely superb watch. I mean, I thought that Bournemouth were pretty poor. I think Dorking the better of the game for most of it. And with 11 men, I've no doubt Dorking would have gone through. But credit to Bournemouth for being so ruthless in the last few minutes to finish them off. I think from a Dorking point of view, it's quite reassuring that we play a very similar system to Dorking as well. So we do have to come up against Bournemouth. We've got the 3 at the back and they look like to have the better of the game. So that's promising going into potentially a playoff final against Bournemouth. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've got to beat Maidstone first, and obviously they'll have to beat Torquay too, which won't be easy. But yeah, thoroughly entertaining game, and I'm looking forward to potentially playing a final against them or Torquay.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think like I said earlier, I think the what you just said about Worthing being beaten, I mean, I've said it to you guys, and I've said it in a couple of times when I've been online, that I think for me, if you look at the interviews of the managers, I take a lot into that. I look a lot into what the managers are saying. And when you look at Adam's always very confident. He's talking about, after the Western game, he's talking about, right, I want to speak to Alan and Simon about a new contract. He's trying to install confidence into the players. And then when you look at someone like Aggie, I'm sorry, there's times, I mean, probably out of the last 7 or 8 interviews, if you went back and watched them, 3 or 4, he's looked like a broken man. Now, I know they were losing some games they shouldn't have lost. I know they lost at Welling. I know they lost at Hornchurch, the game I went to. But that Hornchurch game was probably the one for me where he didn't know what he was saying. And listen, I totally understand it's difficult for a manager, right? If you've just lost a game of football, you're trying to concentrate in your head. You're trying to think about what am I going to do for the weekend? How am I going to turn it around? Because we need to get the points on the board. And then someone's got a microphone, under your nose, and you've got to say what you've got to say. But I just think that to me, that shows how the man is on a day-to-day basis. I look at Adam. I mean, like I said, the last few weeks I've been down to training quite a lot. I'll pop in for half hour, an hour. He's always having a laugh. I look at Adam and I think, the old saying, if you enjoy your job, you don't go to work. I think that's the case with Adam. I think he actually loves it. He loves being around the game. Obviously, he's been a professional footballer all his life, right? But he loves that, and I think that comes across in his interviews. I think that rubs off on the players, and so. Yeah, I just think Worthing. I think I agree with you, Miles. They were beaten for me. They looked beaten within the first 5-10 minutes. Dorking, going back to the ball with Dorking, silly sending off really from a player who's been so good. When we done the pod the other day and we was talking about the player of the season, James from Dorking said that Jimmy had been his player of the season. He said he's been, and I don't think he won it. I don't think he won the player of the season there, but he was James's player of the season. So, for him to get sent off, difficult, but they were 2 yellows. He made a silly judgment, and Mark White was quite open and honest afterwards and said, look, he's made the wrong decision, and we know Adam said that about our players at times when players have made the wrong decision, and I think sometimes a player does need calling out, but he also needs that arm around him, and I just don't know if managers like Mark and Aggie at Worthing, I don't know if they're good enough at putting the arm. I mean, I don't know because then but what I see of them and the way I judge them or the way I try and see them as people, I just think that it's difficult. So anyway, now we move on to Sunday. And breaking news, by the way, guys, we are looking on Sunday that we might go live at the ground. We're hoping to interview a couple of Maidstone people and also a couple of Eastbourne fans, but we're going to do it on a live basis. So make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and hit that bell because we'll be interviewing a few people, but obviously there'll be shorts. They'll only be for 4 or 5 minutes, and if you hit all them, if you subscribe and like and hit the bell, then obviously you'll see when we go live. One of the people I'm hoping to interview is David Knight. All these pictures above today are from David's website, from the club. Have a look on there. Any Borough fans who want your memorabilia, your official signed memorabilia, these all come from David from the club. So, moving on to Sunday, Maidstone, how do we tackle the game? How do we approach the game? I mean, we know Adam's going to have his plan. We know Adam was there watching last night, and he's going to have his plan on how we approach the game. But what's your thoughts? How would you see us approaching it? I'm going to go to you first, Miles.
I think the key on Sunday will be patience, because we saw from the game yesterday with Worthing and Maidstone that if Maidstone get that lead, they'll know how to sit on it and know how to play a dark arse very, very well. So I think not giving them that lead, first of all, will be key. Even if it means 0-0 till 60 minutes, I think that actually favours us with people come off the bench potentially as well. But you've got to remember we're at home. So the fact we're at home, I'm fairly confident of a result. I found out a really good stat actually early in the week regarding our home form. We're the only side to go unbeaten in home in National South Season League since Welling 12 years ago. So that shows how hard it's to do.
Where did Welling finish that season?
Sorry?
Where did Welling finish that season?
I think they were champions, weren't they? They went up as division winners. So obviously we can't do that. That's been gone, but we can still get promoted. But yeah, it's a long time to win a game of football down at Priory Lane, 90 minutes. And if the crowd are up for it as well, which I'm sure we will be, we've been very, very good last 2 home games. If we make it as hard for Maidstone as possible. I think we'll have a really good chance. But patience, I think, for me, is key on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. And that stat you've just said, actually, my first thought was, to do that is obviously difficult because it hasn't been done for 12 years. To do that in this crazy season that we've had, where there's 7 or 8 teams can beat anybody, I mean, you've got to feel for the sides that finished 8th and 9th, and your Westerns and teams like that chased hard to try and get into the playoffs. And there was a bit of a gap after that, but there's so many teams this year. I think it's 11 that topped the league at one point, and obviously Truro were the champions, and they deserve that, right? They won the league. They were obviously the best team in a crazy season because they finished top of the league. But I will still say, and I'll say it until the day I'm gone. They won the league, they were the best team, but they won it by default because there were so many teams could have won it, but didn't want to win it. So, Robin Cherry, how do you think we're going on Sunday? How do we approach it? What do we do?
I'm not technical. I couldn't tell you about what Adam needs to do or what he doesn't need to do, but we need to be loud, we need to be proud, and we need to show the team we're there.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think we started the season well, saying we were unbeaten at home all season. We started the season well, and we made it so getting a draw at our place was a decent result. On Sunday, there isn't a draw. So someone's got to win it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach the game in that respect, because holding out for a draw is not good enough, and then going to lottery or penalties, they're not going to want to be doing that. So I think they've got to go for it. I think it will make for a good game. But I think we need to, from our side, we just need to be smarter than we have been. Not just this season, but before. We've got such a young team. We're talking about the dark arts. I feel that we're naive at times to it. We don't do it as well as other teams as well. Receive the ball, feel the touch from behind, go down, win the free kick. We do that enough times, your opponent gets booked. He can't tackle you anymore. I don't feel that we do that side of the game as well as definitely someone like Maidstone. So it could be decided by whether we have a strong referee or not. Someone that's willing to make the big calls.
Yeah, I mean, I think the referees I've seen in the 2 games we've seen so far this week, I think they've kind of got it right. I think they've been okay. So hopefully, that will follow suit. I mean, obviously, by the time we play on Sunday, we'll know whether we're going to have a home tie in the final or not. We'll know the result of Torquay against Bournemouth, which again it's going to be a really difficult game for Bournemouth. But Bournemouth are a machine at the minute. They've won the last 5 games and they've scored 21 goals in them games. Whoever plays Bournemouth in the final, it's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be a tough game of football. And we know we've played them 4 times this year, so we know if it is us and we have got that home draw, we know what they're about. But at the moment, they're definitely on that run. Bobby, yourself, Sunday, how do you see it? What do you think?
It's probably our biggest game of the season. I think everyone in here can agree on. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that for 90 minutes or possibly 120 or even longer against penalties. But no, I think we've got to.
Bobby, don't even talk about that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
If we went to, mate, honestly, if we went to penalties, I don't think anyone here can handle it.
No.
I'm hiding in the car park. I tell you, I can't watch it.
No, but I think we've got to get it right against Maidstone. I mean, we lost them once at their place, and I think even from that game, I don't know if any of you, me and Mars were there. But Maidstone played us off the park, I think, that game. And then when they came to us in February, they didn't look that great. That could come back to haunt me. But let's see Rob nodding his head in the corner. Thanks for that. But no, I think Saturday is massive. Just we haven't got George, but I can back all 11 players out there that I'm confident that we can get a result.
On the previous games, though, I just feel like both of them could have been draws very easily, though. Like the away game, they hit 2 absolute worldies. Aside from that, it's 1-1. I know, obviously, they did score them, give them that. But I think the general balance of play, I think there was a lot between us. And then the game down at our place, I think we did have the better of it. But they did have a chance right at the end, didn't they? That header that they could easily put over side of Joe, and that would have been an equaliser. So I think there's going to be under no illusion this will be a very difficult game, and it could go distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the away game at Maidstone, if I remember rightly, that was the day that the players had found out that Stewart was leaving the club and going back home. So they'd found that out during the day, so that may have affected them. They may have been trying that little bit too hard because they wanted to win for him in his last game. They may have been disappointed. I mean, we look around the club at the people we've got at the club. Simon, Alan, Adam. They're all to me, they're all guys that if someone needs it, they put their arms around them and have a cuddle with them. We've all had a cuddle from Simon anyway. Not so much Alan, but we'll move on. But Adam seems to be very, so if he's brought that in with Stuart, and obviously remember he's learned everything from Stuart because Stuart was his manager when he was a coach. So if he's learned from him, maybe that's Stuart's feelings as well. Maybe the players actually had that bond with him. So I can forgive them that game at Maidstone. Midweek night, wasn't it, on Tuesday night? I forgive them that game. I thought when we played them at home recently, the game that was on TV, I thought we won 1-0 if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And we didn't. I don't think we overpowered them, but I didn't see a lot in them. I didn't see them creating the chances that I thought they would create. And when you go back to last night, they scored 2, but they were both penalties. I didn't see a lot of creation again. There was a bit, but it wasn't. It wasn't the dominant side that you would think have got to go there and play that way to beat Maidstone to beat Worthing 2-0. So to be fair, I don't really hold a lot of fears for Sunday. I personally, even if we do lose, what a great season this has been. I've been watching the club now for on and off for 30 years and I've seen some great times. The promotion to the National League when we won the playoff final at Stevenage, we beat Hampton and Richmond 2-0. Various big games, beating Torquay at home in our first season in the Conference Premier, as it was in the Blue Square Premier, beating them 4-2 under the lights down at the Lane. I've seen some big times, and I still think that this season is the most exciting season I've ever seen from Eastbourne Borough. If Sunday didn't go our way, I'd shrug my shoulders, I'd be disappointed. But I think by the time I got to the car, I go, what a season to have been involved with. Whatever the situation on Sunday, I think all 5 of us here want to wish the team good luck, obviously. The whole club, obviously, wish good luck. And like I say, don't forget, like, subscribe and hit that notification because we will be going live on Sunday. Hopefully having a big entrance, but not sure yet. So we'll keep that one a little bit of a secret at the moment, what we're going to be doing. But yeah, we're hoping to do that. So short one tonight for you. We'll see you on Sunday, hopefully. And come on the Borough.
Up the Borough. Up the Borough.
Up the Borough.
Sunday.
All right, that's it. Just